Oh, hey there. You're watching and or listening to Podcast is Broken, a weekly podcast where we try to make Canadian news fun-er. My name is Brittlestar.
My name is Steve Boots, and I maintain it is more fun.
No.
My name is Lisa, and it is the funnerest. It's a really good time. It's a really good
time. Wow. That's high praise.
One day
that
we're going
great.
to settle this in the octagon. It will happen.
Oh, yeah.
Like we settle most of our discussions.
That's where conflict is resolved.
Disagreements, right?
Yeah, people don't realize that every show we're deciding what topics to discuss straight to the octagon.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's costing me a fortune in flights to get to Saskatchewan.
Yeah, and
all the makeup to cover the bruising is just
the dental bill is out of control.
Yeah.
Well, soon that's going to be covered.
Well, exactly.
So okay.
Thanks,
Justin.
So how are you guys doing? What's the latest with you guys?
Oh, I'm doing good. I have the best story to share.
Okay.
I believe I told you folks I was going to host an alternative drag show.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Okay, for starters, fantastic. Fantastic.
Nice.
Like the best time, the nicest people, just a great time. But during the show, there was a first timer performer, and they blew a breaker during the performance.
Oh.
Like personally?
No, like the power went out at the venue, and it was just gone. So this person made their way off the stage.
No, like the courage required to get up there
and
do
they
it.
made their way off the stage. Now I'll spoiler for later in the story. This person recovered, did their set later, and crushed it, and was incredible. So
Nice.
they were a champion. But while the power was out, we had no mics, we had no lights, we had no nothing, and so I'm hosting this show and trying to keep the energy up. We wound up having a sing along.
That's
No
okay.
way.
We
That's
sang
nice.
the theme song from SpongeBob SquarePants because there was a lot of millennials in the room.
Sure.
Then we did a round of row your boat, and then the power came back on. And like I had to bust out my best elementary school teacher voice to talk to the whole space, and it worked, man. Like 1, 2, 3, eyes on me.
Right?
Flick the lights.
You couldn't do that because then they think the power was out again.
Exactly. You're standing over by a switch, flicking the switch, and nothing's happening.
And it's so
like
funny.
it was Steve all along.
And like we recruited a hype person from the audience who like absolutely took that role on immediately and just like was like,
Nice.
yeah, everybody. Like,
how did you go about finding a hype person? Did you say, is there a hype person in the house? Is there a hype person here?
We need
We're
some
looking for a
energy.
hype person.
Yeah.
literally, it was like, we need to keep the energy up. Who's doing it? And somebody immediately was like, just took over.
Nice.
It was like,
I was waiting for this night.
It was like,
That's awesome.
it was like this person was ready, like immediately captivated the crowd. 5 minutes later, power was back up, show's back on the road, and it went amazing. It was like the best time.
awesome. That's awesome.
That's a nice night.
Yeah.
That's a full night. Here's a question for you, though. Do we think that the SpongeBob SquarePants theme song has replaced the Flintstones theme song as the TV theme song that most people would know now?
Oh, I would
Maybe.
say
That's a good question.
so. There's a cutoff, right? So, because when I was a kid, Flintstones was on TV every day at lunch. So you'd go and watch Flintstones at lunch.
For me.
From the beginning of time.
So
I think
Well, it's Stone Age.
But that kind of stopped when I was in like late grade school. And so like most of the youngins these days, they don't know about the Flintstones.
They don't know about the Flintstones.
Like
That's a travesty.
they sit in the same sort of like archaic category as all the other Hanna-Barbera characters that aren't in Scooby-Doo. Kids still love Scooby-Doo.
find there's a weird connection to like Snoopy and Peanuts still.
Yes, there's a lot of stuff
And I'm
out
not
in the
sure
world.
I love Peanuts.
For people our age and older, yes. For younger ones,
I don't know. I think I was talking to I'm sure it was Gregor and his girlfriend, maybe Owen, talking about that somebody's got a Peanuts sweatshirt or t-shirt or something like that. And maybe it was just ironic or something, not iconic. It could be iconic. Maybe it was just kind of like, I don't know what this is. This is really funny.
I mean, I've got a Snoopy watch face on my watch, so I must like them.
Currently?
You have to enunciate
Literally,
that
at this
penis.
exact moment. That is
Wow.
that is Snoopy. And like when you check your watch, he does delightful little things because we live in the future.
But they still play the Christmas one and then the Halloween one. So maybe that's why.
They
The newer
watch
generation
them
still
because
know it.
their
But
old
there's no
parents and
Flintstones
teachers
on.
play it for them every Christmas.
Make them
Well,
watch it.
the reason I think they don't have the Flintstones on anymore is because it's like they don't have the Honeymooners on anymore. Because it's the Flintstones is basically the Honeymooners, and the Honeymooners is like,
And it
looks like a lot of
hasn't-
domestic violence.
Hasn't aged the most gracefully.
No,
But it makes me wonder if I was to watch the Flintstones now, if I would catch all like I'm going to say more adult jokes that I missed as a child. Because I think there's probably a lot of that in the Flintstones.
I think so.
We're bringing back the Flintstones next week.
Do it. When I was
We have a watch party.
so
yeah,
I was a young man with a very distorted view of the world, and so I was very upset when the Flintstones was canceled. And so I actually, this is honest to God true.
You wrote a letter.
In God's name,
Did
am
you
I
write a
telling
letter?
you? It's so much worse.
please tell us.
I organized
Please.
a petition.
Where did you take this? Like
Direct
an
action.
online petition?
No, this
or
was
like,
like-
did you get
this
Michelle
would've been-
Ferrer?
There is no
involved?
online.
Like 98-ish. And
Okay.
so I collected about 300 signatures at my school and sent it to, I think it was CTV, and nothing ever really came of it. But
I mean,
I
what a
legit
missed
organized a
opportunity.
straight up petition at my grade school to save the Stones, was what it was called. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Why in
Save the
God's name am I
It
Stones.
sounds
telling
like
you
it
any
sounds
of
like
this?
it sounds like a petition to stop the fixing of your dog. Save the Stones.
Oh,
Just
that
think
went
about
dark.
for a while. It's dark.
No,
What do you mean?
I got it.
Why was it not? That's not dark.
everyone
testicle
in the
joke.
room just winced just a little bit. Just,
Two of us did for sure.
Yeah, I could care less.
How about you, Lisa? How you
It's a
doing?
tough room.
I'm good. Busy week. I went to a Pride March and Rally on Saturday. Last Saturday.
Oh, that was nice.
And it was rainy and miserable, but it was a good crowd and there was lots of energy. So it's always nice to like get out and see that we're not alone in Alberta when we congregate. It's just nice. Yeah. So good time.
That's good.
And you,
That
Stu?
sounded
How you
lovely.
doing, man?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right. We just went to a couple of days in Toronto for our youngest son, Gregor, who graduated from university, and went out for dinner. Had a very interesting experience at dinner. I'll tell you this really briefly. It was actually lunch. Sorry, it was in a nice restaurant, a nice-ish restaurant. It was so nice that
It's
actually
like a
Owen said it
Wendy's,
best.
you know.
No. Owen, it was in the Royal York, and it's called Rain, and it appears to be the kind of restaurant that's quite nice. So nice, in fact, that Owen coined it best by saying, "It's so fancy, it's already evening in there." And it was because it was at 1 o'clock already. It just looked like one of those restaurants. Everyone's
Had
like,
the vibe.
it's perpetually 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Except for where they sat us, which was obviously 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
They're
But
like, don't put them in the cool area. Put them in the other.
let's put them in the
I'm
other
in the
area.
daylight area.
Do we have a play place here?
Put them where we
them a
keep the
play place.
plants.
Exactly. But at the end of the meal, which was fine, I thought, and at the end of the meal, I asked for the bill and nothing was happening. And then still nothing happened. We were waiting maybe like 15 minutes for the bill to come. And I'm like, we got stuff to do. We got to get out of here.
Is this like,
So I say to the-
like in university when you're like, if they're not there 15 minutes, you just get to leave.
You just get to leave. Exactly. And so I said to the guy, he came over and he said, Shannon's standing up to give them the cue. And he comes over and he said, "Are you leaving already?" He goes, "Just a few more minutes." And we're like, "Oh, man, okay. I don't know why we're waiting for so long for this stupid bill." And he sat down and then he started putting forks in front of each of us. And we're like, what the hell is happening? And then he came out another 10 minutes later. This is like a 40-minute process of waiting for the bill. But we were like all getting angry. We're like, oh, this is stupid.
Wait, they
I
put
hate
forks
never
in
coming
front of
back
you and you
here
didn't
again.
catch on at that point?
We're not very bright. We don't get out a lot.
Like something's afoot. Are they
Well,
just
we were
setting the
swimming in
table
the
for the
rage.
next people?
The
That's what we thought. But really slowly. They're doing everything really
you
slowly.
sweet naive man.
They're like licking their
Setting the
fingers
table
and
one thing at a
touching the
time.
forks. Yeah.
10 minutes later, you come by with a knife, and then maybe a spoon. Another 10 minutes later, and then the next
Just
couple
easing
hours, you get a
into it.
napkin. Exactly. It's like boiling a frog, setting it for the dinner service.
3 hours later, it's just
and,
another family at the table.
Exactly. It's got to be seamless for the server. It's got to be seamless.
Yeah.
And he put the forks down in front of like it was another 10 minutes later, and then he comes out with this like lovely tray of desserts with a little chocolate sign that says congratulations. And he said, I overheard that it was his graduation. I thought I'd bring this out for you, from the restaurant.
Aww.
Which was, and the desserts were phenomenal. So our tune changed from this is the stupidest place in the world. I hate this place. Never coming back here again. To like, oh my God, free dessert. Fantastic. So it was a lovely time.
Yeah, chocolate really turns things around in those sort of situations.
Right?
It really
Free
does.
desserts. Yeah. It makes
really
the night
does.
better.
They should bring them into question period. Just like have a dessert tray. Hey, guy, everyone sit down. Everyone sits down for 30 seconds. There's a dessert tray coming around. That's
Or
all
a
they need to
cheese
do.
platter. That'll do
Or
it too.
a cheese platter would be good too. So anyway, let's talk about stuff because we spent 11 minutes talking about not
Us.
Yeah, but I told an embarrassing story, so they'll forgive us.
That's worth it. Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. So there's a few things we want to talk about today. First thing off the block I want to talk about, which just tickles my fancy, is the fact that Ottawa, which is known as the town that fun forgot, has a new night mayor, which they've assigned to the job. So they have, in an effort to bolster their evenings, stuff to do at night in Ottawa downtown, to get people to go downtown, to go to like restaurants and shows and stuff like that. They thought what we need to do is get someone whose job it is just to focus on that, which I think is a great idea. I think it's a really good idea. I love Ottawa. Ottawa's a good town.
Mm-hmm.
So they decided to create this position of night mayor, which has been in the works for a little while now, but they announced the night mayor deliciously at Tuesday morning at 9:30 in the morning.
It's all about timing.
Which is the most Ottawa way to announce a nightmare ever.
We're going to liven up
Listen,
the nightlife.
everyone.
Everybody show up bright and early to discuss it.
Yeah, exactly. I hope you weren't out last night.
No sleeping in on our watch.
So,
It's fascinating to me. I mean, his name's Matthew Grandin, and he's from Montreal, of course. And I'm positive his first suggestion is going to be like more strip clubs. That's what he's going to say, probably.
it feels a little on the nose that Ottawa's plan to spice up their nightlife is just like put someone from Montreal in charge.
We got to get someone cooler.
We got to take
Can you
this
bring
out of
someone
the
cooler
house,
in?
man. Like, there's no way.
It's like they looked at his Facebook friend list and went, oh, God, he's got a lot of friends. Maybe they'll come.
There's a lot of DJs on this list. Let's get them in here.
So, like, have you seen, like, I just looked up an article about this fella from the Ottawa Citizen, and I didn't know what he looked like until this exact moment. And he's just an ordinary looking fellow, but he is wearing purple tinted sunglasses in the photo, and it just looks like the most nightlife thing you've ever seen. Like, it looks
that's
like
the kind of shit you need for nightlife.
he looks
You need
like
purple tinted sunglasses.
he looks
He wears his
like
sunglasses
Bono
at night.
who runs
That's
a
right.
club. It's fantastic. It's just so on the nose.
He's like, shows up from Montreal. He's like, you guys heard of Corey Hart? Have you?
At first, when we were talking about it earlier, I was like, nightmare. And I was like, N night?
Yeah, did
or
you guys
KN
hear about
night?
the
Like,
Ottawa
are we having
nightmare? And we were like, I mean,
are we night?
I've heard about the general state of affairs, but like,
Are we?
I didn't think it's a
is this the whole
nightmare.
thing? Like,
so their plan
is
to
there
keep
ceremony?
everyone,
Like, I don't understand.
their plan to keep everyone up at night is a nightmare. Fantastic.
It is,
That's- see?
a different kind of nightmare.
Feels
It basically solves
spot on.
itself. It's a problem that solves itself. It's really fantastic. But yeah, so this guy's from Montreal, born and raised. He's done a whole bunch of stuff. He seems, I mean, I don't know what the qualifications are for night mayor, but he seems to have them.
applies for that.
See, like,
Guy with
Put on your
purple
resume.
sunglasses. That's
I
who.
know.
Yeah.
I haven't been to Ottawa in a long time, and my most recent memories of Ottawa included a lot of honking. So I'm sure that's not the nightlife that we're
Right.
looking at here.
Yeah.
I mean, they stayed up late.
Like, does it?
That's true.
They sure did. But is there no nightlife in Ottawa? Like, is this necessary? Are we trying to like get the younger crowd back to Ottawa? What are we doing?
I mean, the big problem, I think, and someone from would have been smart for us to have someone from Ottawa on here. But I think Shannon's from Ottawa. Hey, Shannon, you're from Ottawa. So
Can't hear you over the back.
She's busy vacuuming.
She can't hear. Bless her soul.
Keeps a spotless floor, I tell you.
She does. That's a tip off of what nightlife's like in Ottawa. Is the transportation getting in and out? Like the LR, they've got the light rail system, which has been problematic from the get go. Lots and lots of problems. Doesn't run when it's too hot. Doesn't run when it's too cold. Both things happen in Ottawa.
I feel it.
And
I feel it.
I think the problem is you've got people who live in like Barhaven and Nepean and Manotick and other places, Orleans and all kind of stuff, who are on the outskirts of Ottawa, but they can't easily get in and out. You're asking people to come in, party, and then drive for 40 minutes out of town. That's not a thing.
But like, I think that's a problem facing the nightlife in a lot of places in Canada right now.
Sure.
Is like Canada suburbanized so hard and didn't really invest in transit. And so they're like, why isn't anybody coming downtown? It's like, because it's a pain in the backside.
So in this article, it says that Ottawa has approximately 4,600 nightlife related businesses.
40 of those are vape shops.
At least 40 of them. So, and it employs the 4,600 nighttime related businesses employ 38,000 workers.
That's a lot.
So there's got to be stuff happening.
You'd think so, right?
Do you think part of it is that most of the folks who are working in Ottawa are either flying in and like staying at a hotel and don't particularly want to go to a nightlife thing because they got to work in the morning, or are commuting in a long honking way and just don't want to stay downtown all night? Like, I don't know how you really fix that. And as much as this guy seems like a lively fella, he ran a nonprofit about nightlife activities, which is interesting.
I mean, we're not here to judge.
Educated on this stuff. It does say that 84% of the nightlife spending comes from Ottawa residents and 16% from visitors.
Yeah, because I mean, even like the hotels in Ottawa are more expensive during the week than they are on the weekends.
Yeah.
Except for a short period of time in the summertime. But apart from that, like, and you go in anytime that's not, July and August, it's cheaper to stay on a Friday night, Saturday night than it is to stay on a Monday, Tuesday, or even a Sunday. The prices jump on a Sunday because everyone's coming in for business or whatever, that type of thing. Yeah, I think the transportation thing is the biggest hurdle that they're going to have because you just can't go back. And you're right about the urbanization of lots of cities in Canada. I think about, there must be a mindset still that's like, well, just drive in. You'll be fine. Just drive in. Don't worry about it. I think back to reading it. There's a book I have that's about this club in Stratford called the Black Swan, and it was in the 60s, and it was also a club back in the 30s and 40s, and really cool place, cool book. Like it was a stop between Toronto and Detroit, so you get a lot of like big names that would just like be somehow pulled into Stratford, like the Mina Birds, like with Neil Young and Rick James in the same band, which is pretty cool. Yeah. And anyway, this book would detail about how people, they like to get around liquor laws and stuff. You couldn't sell liquor on a Sunday, so they would start their Sunday night shows technically at 12:01 a.m. and people would drive in from all the outside little villages and towns. And they just get all hammered up on liquor and then drive home. And is there still that kind of mindset? I wonder if people like, we'll just drive. Don't worry about it.
That's when you could drive drunk.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Things have changed. Back in the day.
I have one thing that I was idly looking around here and stumbled across, which is that the new Nightmare also DJs. You can find his DJ sets under his DJ name, Grandini.
Maybe he's like, this is the plum gig I've been waiting for.
Come on, as a guy whose last name is Grandin, his DJ name being Grandini is pretty good, like full credit. But
is it his DJ name?
Yeah, but also like
that's good.
It might be his supervillain name because when you look through his like history, everything he does sounds a combination of fun and sinister. So like in 2020, he organized something called the Night Council, a consultation table for Montreal night owls. And then he had the Sommet or Au Sommet de la Nuit, which is like this like everything he does sounds a combination of fun and super villainous. And I appreciate it. Bring that energy to Ottawa.
Yeah, maybe it's just a diversification of different types of things out of the 4,600 night-related.
Ottawa has super villains, so
yeah, that's true. They got to go somewhere at night.
So,
exactly.
Right?
You know, have a good time. Well, listen, I wish them well. I don't.
Good luck, Mathieu.
What'd you say?
Bonne
Sorry.
chance.
Bonne chance. Yeah, exactly.
Trying to get people in Ottawa to stay out past 10. Best of luck.
I know. And I mean, the thing is like the mayor, Mark Sutcliffe, super nice guy. I know Mark. He's a good dude. He's not a nightlife guy. So he knows his strengths and weaknesses. He knows that. I'm concerned that this Mathieu Grandin has just juiced his resume. Put the word night in there. Council, committee.
I think it's just an important testament.
Sunglasses.
I think it's important also to highlight the peaceful transition of power. You know, it is. It's nice to see.
I think that's something we can all be proud of as Canadians and honorary Ottawaians.
The daily raising of the night flag.
Exactly. It's just nice.
Are we going to have music festivals on the hill?
I mean,
like, is that?
Does the Nightmare get a theme song like Hail to the Chief? And can it be Night Moves?
I mean, it has to be now.
Put it out into the world, Steve. Matt's here.
I want so badly for him to DJ Night Moves now.
Night Moves. Be good.
He doesn't know what that song is.
It's worth the 8-hour drive to Ottawa for me just to hear that.
Exactly.
I'm looking at flights
or a 10-hour train ride.
When does he begin his inauguration? When is this happening?
I don't know.
I believe
when does he begin?
He's already.
I think sort of
seized
6 p.m. 7 doors open, and then probably 8.
To Ottawa.
Yeah, doors at 6.
Everyone hand stamps for
They're
everybody.
supposed to be on the stage at 8, but like, who knows?
Yeah, they're probably not going to hit it. Actually, it's Ottawa. They'll be on the stage at 7. So it'll be fine.
Do some pre-gaming at 4:30. It's going to be great.
Sipping tea at 10.
Exactly.
We're kidding, Ottawa. We love you.
We love you, Ottawa.
To that point, I'm a big believer in early shows. I like early. I know that.
Hell yes.
Hawksley Workman reposted a thing on Twitter saying about how someone saying that the majority of concert goers now don't want to wait until 11 o'clock at night to hear the first band. Mm-mm. Just get on with it. Let's finish the show. Let's get out of here. And
wrap it up.
I went to see a band last week sometime. Can't remember when it was. In Toronto, and Owen and I went and arrived at 7 o'clock, just after 7 o'clock. Saw the opening band, they were great. Red Output, they were cool. And then they were there for a band called Pacifica, who are also, yes, they're the name of our old car, but they're also from Argentina. They're a really cool band. 2 young women and 2 guys, and just straight ahead, authentic rock and roll, basically.
Nice.
And they finished their set. It was like 10 o'clock, and we're like, oh, that was amazing. And I was like, God, it's 10 o'clock. I'm driving back home tonight. This is fantastic. This is really great. It turns out they were just the second openers. I went home and I was like, oh, there was a headline act after that. Oh, well, doesn't matter. But I was happy to leave at 10 o'clock. So maybe I should move to Ottawa.
So you
missed your opportunity.
There's a point where it can go too far, though. So my parents, they had a place down in Arizona for a while, and it was in a 55 plus community, I think it was called, or not a seniors community, but not called that,
Right.
And
next year. Okay.
So I was going down to visit them, and they were like, yeah, it's going to be great. We're going to a concert on the day you come. And I'm like, cool. That sounds fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah.
3 p.m.
That's maybe a little
in the community center Beach Boys cover band. They were fantastic.
Well,
they were called Catch a Wave.
Sure.
I enjoyed it immensely, but it was like 3 p.m. and they're like, we're going to get you home for supper, everybody. It's like, Oh, okie dokie.
Yeah, but supper there is at 4:15, so
This
It's a
is
half-hour set.
very distinctive energy for a concert. Okie dokie.
Well, I think that just what we're trying to say is that all options are on the table for Ottawa.
There you go. You could
Well, I was
have
gonna
Beach
say,
Boys cover
Stuart,
bands
if
at
you-
3 p.m.
right. If you want to move to Ottawa, then you could be like middle of the afternoon mayor,
I don't mind the sounds of that, actually.
right?
Can I
That
be
sounds
the
pretty
early
good.
morning mayor? I'm a morning person.
Steve can write up a petition.
Yeah. it's
He's
good.
good
I
at
think
petitions.
I'm never
That'd be
living
nice.
that down. Why did I tell you people this?
you had to have one flaw.
Because there's
That's
trust. There's trust.
Exactly. We wouldn't tell anybody.
No,
Let's move
this
on
is
from
just
there.
between us, obviously.
Just between
Exactly.
us.
Just between us. Let's move on from this story. And we do wish Ottawa all the best and the new nightmare.
Yes.
We hope it's
Fucking
Speaking of
no,
nightmares-
we hope it's pleasant.
Yeah, we hope it's pleasant. Exactly. I want to talk about the foreign interference thing because as we talked about last week, a whole NSICOP report, and I had initially thought to myself, well, you know, there's a reason that Poilievre was not interested in calling for the names. I think that I'm going to be a little suspicious. And then he did call for the names to be released. Then afterwards, I thought to myself, I think that was he's just bluffing. That someone needs to call his bluff a little bit. And then in the news recently, Elizabeth May, leader of the Green Party and face toucher when I met her.
Oh, right.
So soft.
Brittleman.
Don't touch the Brittleman.
Good Brittleman.
And she did a press conference and said, listen, I've got my clearance. I read the report. I feel comfortable with everybody who's an MP currently in the House of Commons. One person is gone. They should be prosecuted. And there's other concerns, but I feel in general that there's not like there's a whole bunch of spy MPs. Then Jagmeet Singh did his own report and said, you know what? I got clearance and I read the report as well. And I'm super freaked out now. I'm really worried, more worried than I was before. And then Blanchette was like, sacre bleu. And he went out and he got his clearance. And this
He dropped his cigarette.
And he's like, oh no.
Holy de Maurier.
I don't even know. Does he smoke? I actually don't know.
He's French. He obviously smokes.
You must smoke.
Yeah, exactly. I think they have to.
It's just they hand
Ottawa
you one
hates
when you're born.
us.
Exactly.
Quebec's gonna hate
Oh,
us.
welcome to the world. Here you go. A pack of players and the Maurier. Choose wisely.
All French people are just
Just
Pepe Le
players.
Pew in
Straight
your
to
mind.
Montreal with him. This
Okay.
is terrible.
know.
So what was I saying? Jagmeet Singh said he's freaked out,
Freaked
and
out,
Blanchette's
yeah.
got a thing. So here's my question for you guys. My question is that do we think that all the wind has been taken out of Poilievre's sails in this? Because if he doesn't get clearance, he looks like he's negligent now or guilty. One of the two.
He tends to look negligent and guilty anyway.
I-
on most days.
It's kind of his brand, man.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't suspect that he's guilty of anything. I really don't.
Yeah.
If he was, they'd be screaming it from the rooftops, right? Like it would, like the leader of the federal opposition being involved in that stuff would, I doubt the NSICOP would sit on that. But I think the larger issue is just like the conflicting reports. Like it really seems like Elizabeth May and Jagmeet Singh had very different takeaways from reading.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was the reactions to the reports, right?
Yeah.
Because
That's what I mean.
Ms. May was all like Pollyanna and like, everything's good. There's some concerns, but I feel confident. And then
The takeaways
Jagmeet
were
was like,
so starkly different. Like I don't know how to read that. It just muddied the waters even
No.
more.
yeah, I have no idea.
I find Jagmeet a little alarmist sometimes, though. Like I think he's a little dramatic sometimes.
Well, here's the thing, right? You got to bear in mind,
Why are you laughing, Lisa?
he's upholding
it's
the
just
government.
true. You know it's
'Cause
true.
He's got more than one person, two people to worry about.
But at the end of the day, he is upholding the government, right? If he genuinely
Yeah,
believed
yeah, that's true.
that there was a threat to democracy in some way, why would he continue to uphold the government, right? Like,
Yeah.
So I think you're right that there's some degree of theatrics here.
Mhm.
just like, I think there's definitely valid concerns, but I think he's also using pretty alarmist tones here. And I think that's by design. And my suspicion is that it's to try to turn the spotlight on Poilievre, because he's been very suspiciously quiet lately.
I know.
His focus has been elsewhere. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to think, because I think we all, last week had our little tinfoil moments, and that was fun.
Well, yeah, it's the aliens.
And I still
obviously.
don't, right? Yeah, exactly. I still don't know, like, how many degrees of separation, especially when we're talking about, party leadership and things like that, of who knew what or who participated in what. But I'm just stuck on, like I said, the Pollyanna versus the, like, we're going down, two different views on what was read. So I don't know if I don't know. I can't venture to guess, because Elizabeth did, say that there are issues. So that could be issues with the Senate. That could be issues with staffers. It could be issues. All she said was that she's confident with her colleagues sitting in Parliament, right? But that doesn't mean that there's not something else happening.
So
I don't know.
The best explanation. Go ahead, Stuart.
No, I was just going to say, I felt like Elizabeth May's press conference was kind of like a reverse of the Arrested Development doctor. The doctor in Arrested Development would be like, they come in like, how's our dad? We lost him.
Yeah.
Oh my God. No, we don't know where he is. Like, he's gone somewhere. Like, why would you start like that? I feel like she was the reverse of that. She was like, listen, everything's fine. Everything's totally good. But there's a lot of stuff we should be very worried about. When that was like a minute and a half into her talk.
Everything's fine.
Crazy.
But
treason.
I'm confident. Yeah.
Light treason, yeah.
I'm confident, but people should be dealt with. Like, so yeah, I don't know.
The best explanation I can make sense of, like, I poured over this report. I read the whole thing, which was depressing, because my life is a rich, full oyster.
Flintstone's petition to this.
Indeed.
Oh, how he's grown.
And one of the things that really gets highlighted is how the difference between foreign influence and foreign interference is very thin and not always clear. And a lot of the things that are being alleged in this report aren't even necessarily illegal. Right? Like, there's so many gray areas, and the report really highlights that. And so the best explanation that I can make sense of for the two different takeaways, and this is being pretty generous, to be fair, is that they both read it differently when it comes to influence versus interference, what's appropriate, what's not, where the line is. Because there's a lot of gray areas. And the report, like, literally diagrams with gray areas.
Right? I'd be like holding it up to the light, trying to see if I can see the letters.
See through the redacted.
Old school. But you're right. Maybe it was just a difference of interpretation or potential impacts to people closest to you. Also, who knows?
I think
it just was so different.
I think a lot of that stuff, though, like, you're saying there's a lot of it that's in there that is not good, but it's not illegal. I think that sums up most of the big political revelations in the past, like, 10 years, is that there's been so many things that have come up where it's been like, this is terrible. Surely this must be illegal. And there's like, nah, it's not. It's just been sort of a, social contract that we're not going to do.
And this is
just
it.
Like, don't be a jerk.
The reason why leadership races specifically were targeted and nomination races too, is because there's functionally no laws around them. They're run internally by parties. They're run by consent through sort of internal processes. And so if you fake ballots or, use out of region electors or things like that, it's unethical. It's against policies, but there's no laws in place against it right now. Like, foreign interference in leadership races and nominations, A-okay.
It's a tisk. It's not a. But my worry, as always, is that, okay, so if we have two leaders of parties having such different reactions, how does that trickle down to everyday Canadians, right? If we ever get our mitts on the whole thing and that interpretation, is the hint of allegation enough to tarnish somebody or one group, or do we forget? Do we quickly forget about that kind of stuff?
I think so.
You know,
I think
you know what would sure be helpful is if like maybe another person, like I don't know, their party leader got to look at that report.
This is it. This is my whole
But
thing is that he's
haven't all the people that have the ability to look at the report like that would require
correct, Lisa.
Another ability.
Some sort of, I don't know, clearance of some kind.
We're gonna have to Google that and figure out how someone would actually go about doing that.
It's what's hilarious to me is that when Poilievre and his supporters and people support and Michael Chong and stuff, I think who said it specifically, if he gets clearance, he'll be cut off at the knees. Essentially, he'll be like, he's not going to be able to hold the government to account. It's like, you can't do that now. Anyway, he couldn't demand names be released. It's like, yeah, he totally could demand names be released and have seen the report. And that's what I say at the start of the conversation. Like, does this mean like this? Is this because he has been really quiet? Does this mean like he knows there's no currency in that anymore? Because I think the idea that I don't want to know too much so that I can complain about stuff. That seems really apparent now. It seems really obvious and it seems really laid bare.
Yeah, it's getting really transparent and it's getting really clear that it's interfering with his ability to do his job. Right? Like his role goes far beyond just the overtly political that you see every day. Like he's supposed to be doing work in committee and he's supposed to be doing work through the party, but he's also supposed to be sitting on the National Security Council and learning about this stuff. Right. And I refuse to wear the tinfoil hat about he can't get clearance because he's had it in the past. He can get it. He just doesn't want it.
But maybe things have changed from when he had it in the past to now. Maybe that's an issue. I don't look over the applications. I'm just saying some stuff has changed since he had it last.
True. Very true.
I mean, that was my big thing about when this all transpired and him saying and realizing that he was saying essentially, I don't want to know. I don't want to have the liability of actually knowing something so that I can just, spout off, basically.
But I think it's also worth noting both May and Jagmeet Singh have given press conferences about it.
Yeah, exactly.
How muzzled can you be?
Get clearance and then come out and say, we got to release the names. We got to release the names.
They should they call press conferences. Look how muzzled they are.
But neither May or Singh spend time in side of the road trailers with people. So that is my question, is that if he was to have clearance, could he do those pit stops or hang with the people that he is hanging with?
Maybe not.
And politicizing question. Whatever he's politicizing, right? Like, I don't know. Like he had his security with him, but he was deep in that trailer. You know what I mean? So
he doesn't I think it's pretty obvious he doesn't feel a very specific sort of sense of responsibility that you need from your leaders, right? Like he doesn't feel responsible to anybody. Like Justin Trudeau, love him or hate him, you at least believe he feels some degree of responsibility to his office, to Canadians, to whatever it may be.
Yeah. And I think Jagmeet would feel the same.
Yeah.
I think Elizabeth May would feel the same.
Absolutely.
I even think Blanchette would feel the same.
Yeah.
Specifically to Quebec.
But yeah.
But he'd be like, I guess I'm prime minister now. I got to care about the rest of the country.
Prime Minister of Quebec.
You can look at any of those folks and think like, I have some fundamental disagreements, but they're not bad folks.
No, exactly.
Poilievre is starting to make it very clear he's more interested in being able to run his mouth than he is in being able to actually do the work of government.
I watched QP, which would have been
why would you do
Wednesday's
that to yourself?
QP. No, honest to God, I did a video. I haven't posted it yet, but I couldn't sleep last night, and I was like, I don't want to read. Okay, what's going to put me? I'll watch QP. So I was watching it, and the shenanigans, the ridiculousness of never actually getting to any answers on things, not only because the type of question that you're asking, but the way you're asking the question. Yeah. It's just all puffery, right? And ridiculousness of he spent the greatest portion of question period talking about, capital gains tax, and just randomly picking out different types of, like plumbers and welders and just random types of workers, and asking Ms. Freeland if she would change the law to waive them ever having to pay a tax, like individual professions. What? What are we doing?
Huge waste of time. It's grandstanding.
It is grandstanding. It's ridiculous.
I mean,
I'm so tired.
What is Poilievre if not grandstanding, though?
Well, exactly.
No, I know.
And
but imagine that, like on the just imagine that as running the country.
But Steve, you had said that it's becoming more and more apparent every day that he's just out for himself, essentially. But I mean, I think that's the thing that's been driving me nuts lately is that I feel that there are people who, the majority of people are way more willing to give the benefit of the doubt to someone who's like, listen, I might not know the whole story, so maybe I should reserve judgment. Whereas we all know, I think the majority of people know, looking at him going, this is a huge red flag. Mm-hmm. This guy is not who we want. He's not, I don't want to have a beer with him. I don't want to have him drive my mom to the shopping mall. I don't know why he would do that, but I don't want him doing it. And I just like we cut so much slack, I think, in an effort to be fair, that we sometimes have people who take total advantage of that. I remember there was a neighbor of ours who didn't, well, he did. He understood self-deprecating humor, but instead of, when you say, oh, I can't believe it, my hair is crazy, it's stupid looking today, he'd be like, oh yeah. He'd be like, screw you, buddy. That's not how this works.
I mean, it's
funny.
I say
it, then you say something.
It's funny though. That's a good bit.
It's a good bit. You know what I mean? It's like,
that doesn't make you likable.
Exactly. I think you're able to tell the character of people. And I know that we had said last week's episode, I think we're pretty good judges of character. And someone on YouTube was like, delusional, which is like fine. But I mean, I think it's not just us three. It's the majority of people. If we're being honest with ourselves, we probably go, no, I don't think so. He's not a good dude.
But there's a huge faction that he can do no wrong, right? Like, I mean, it doesn't matter what comes out. He is the savior for them.
I think though he peaked early, and I think that base gets withered by tiny chips, right? Because like he's down. They dropped 12 points in the last poll that I saw. Like they're still ahead. Don't get me wrong, but it doesn't happen all at once. The longer things draw out and the longer he spends in the public eye, the worse things go for Poilievre. But I think the fact that he's been camera chasing since day one, and now he's doing everything he can to avoid them. Tells you everything. Yeah. And I don't think it's because he's really guilty. Does. I think it's because he knows that all the parties are going to wear it and the conservatives are going to wear it the worst.
Yeah. Yes, I think that's a really good way of putting it. I think there's lots of dirty hands for sure.
Oh yeah,
it's messy. There's lots of dirty hands, but he's not going to be able to be this sort of pious, The
report's super clear. Every party had interference. Every single one.
Yeah.
Oh, I just want it.
And we all know if the public and the government keep the heat up, it'll come out.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Sure. Some whistleblower is gonna figure out proton mail or something, and
but I also think the government, like I think the Liberal Party is going to see this as an opportunity. If everyone's hands are dirty, they could be like, all of our hands are dirty. Here's their dirtiest hands. We're going to get rid of those as a show, and we know that much more of this muck is going to be splattered onto the conservatives. That's fine. Let's let that happen.
Having more and more trouble understanding why the Liberals are dragging their feet.
Well, I mean, this is again, to me, I think there might be, maybe there's more to it than we don't know. Like maybe I still have in my mind, they've got this keep your powder dry mentality of we don't want, because as you said, everything peaks, Poilievre peaked early. And I think you don't want outrage to peak too early, or shock to peak too early as well. As I think you might find that might be a different tone from the Liberal Party in a year from now, where the Liberal Party will be, okay, now we can tell people because now we can ride out for the next 3 months or 2 months of the news cycle on this.
Do you think that that's part of why they're waiting it out to some extent? Is that I think they're worried about sort of the mob with the pitchforks and the torches, and they want to let the temperature come down? Like, I almost wonder because like if I'm sitting there in government, the only reasons that make sense to me are that they're worried about public outcry being disproportionate to what's in the report, or they're worried about the impacts on international relations. Like,
I think it's both. I mean, look at, we just dealt with like, all the issues that happened in Ottawa a couple of years ago. Like, they have to be a lot more, I don't want to say strategic, but they have to think about a lot of other things, right? It's not just haha, we're going to get them. Because there's nothing worse, like you said, Poilievre has peaked and now he's grasping to try and keep that momentum and that energy. And that's more exhausting because you always have to look for something instead of having it organically happen where you can question, the Liberals, you can question, whatever it is that you're going to do.
Hungry.
Now he has to actively
for more things.
Look for it. He needs those sound bites, right? I think it's right. Oh yeah. I think, it's a big deal, especially if it involves every single party, right? So they have to be cautious about making sure that whenever it comes out, there's either a plan or they can come and say, this is what we've done. Just releasing the names isn't going to do anything.
I do
because
think
people are just going to be mad. And then
when Elizabeth May talked about that one MP, that person's really specifically highlighted as like a high risk threat that the report passed on to the RCMP. That's all it says. But like, I don't know if that I might be conflating that the MP was the high risk threat, but there was a high risk threat identified. And there was also, they identified like Liberal MPs who were unwittingly getting financed. Like, there is so much happening. And so,
yeah. But that's the thing. And that's the branching out though, right? Is like, did Pierre go and meet somebody in an alley? Probably not. You don't need an alley. But there's so many other people involved that can bring it up the chain without you even knowing it.
Oh my God. I wish I could remember who tweeted it.
Trailers on the side of the highway.
Tweeted the other day, I am Narcissus, or I am a modern Narcissus, and the Zoom square is my lake. And I was like, oh my God, that is uncomfortably correct.
The shame.
To finish off, I think, on this topic, I think that to me, it seems like this Poilievre not getting clearance is quite possibly the biggest gift he could give the Liberal Party currently, because now it's really apparent.
Yeah, I'll put it in. We can put it in like.
Don't let it catch on. I refuse.
It's wacko.
I know he's trying so hard. They must have gotten so much.
He said it again in QP yesterday. Twice.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. T-shirts, exactly.
Oh, totally. Take the W, wacko.
The calmest, most sane province in the country, Saskatchewan.
Things are going great. Things are going great over here.
Can you tell us what the latest thing is with Premier Scott Moe, who's just a rock of stability and sound thinking?
His grounded thinking and sound wisdom guide us all. So this week he was in Spears, Saskatchewan, which is like a mid-sized town, couple hundred people. Now he claims.
Lisa and I, you said a mid-sized town, couple hundred people. Both Lisa and I were like, what the hell is he talking about? That's not even a mall here.
Oh, in Saskatchewan, there's like towns that size dotted all over the.
What the fuck's happening in Saskatchewan?
So it's comparatively mid-sized.
They're mostly like
that's brunch on a Sunday. Okay, sorry.
Grain elevators, and then the grain elevators are no longer active, and so the towns are just sort of like hanging out.
Okay.
So
That's fair.
he claims,
it's like mid-sized towns, pretty funny.
he claims he was invited by the mayor. The mayor's like, no, I didn't invite him. I don't know what he's talking about. Like right out of the gates. So he spoke in like
I don't want to hear.
looking community center. Like everything behind him is just taupe. And
It is a fantastic picture.
he spoke for like apparently almost 2 hours. And somebody said, I have the quote here. What are you going to do about the barium, aluminum, strontium, lithium, atrazine, raw kerosene, raw gasoline, and raw diesel that's being dumped on your province by God knows who? And somebody else in the crowd said, I believe he's talking about chemtrails, and it's a fact. Moe responded, quote, I am starting to hear about this through emails into our office the last number of months. And I'll have to do some more work looking into it. I don't know if there is as coordinated an approach as some folks think, but obviously there are emissions that are coming out of the jets that are flying over. And the prospect is, or the projection is, there is going to be a lot more jets in the not too distant future than there is today.
I love the idea that he's just hearing about chemtrails now. Chemtrails. God,
And
that sounds
I love that
scary.
Professor Moe's answer is, we'll look into it. like, okay, what's he going to put
Where all
on
the
lab
jets
coat?
coming from?
We'll look into. Oh my God.
Oh, because Saskatchewan's
Where
forever.
I'm concerned
perpetually
about all
in a
these
state of
jets.
booming growth
Where are
despite
they
our shrinking
coming
economy.
from?
They wanted. So
Okay,
nobody wants to
okay.
fly here because it's not profitable. So they just
Oh,
like
Momo.
subsidized a whole bunch of flights to Minneapolis recently and stuff. Like
Okay. Yeah.
there's a whole bunch of stuff, but also I don't even know. There's so many.
Are those the jets?
man.
Is
Like
that what
one
he's talking about?
One person
Okay,
came
sorry.
forward with a bunch of high treason complaints about
I mean,
the
jets
health
is very
authority,
specific.
and Moe's response was, I'll read your document.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Let me guess.
One resident asked Moe if you denounced the World Health Organization, their pandemic treaty. I haven't looked at it very close, but I can imagine what's in it.
Yeah,
God.
and like every
Just
conspiracy
World
theory
Health
you can
Organization.
think of, like the World
I'm
Economic
just starting to
Forum
hear
is
about
like,
that
"Oh,
now."
yeah, they're really good." And he was like talking about NATO and stuff, and it's like, what are you doing?
The background of the picture of him speaking in this community is fantastic, though. It is like that picture is amazing. It looks like a scene at a Letterkenny.
My
It just
favorite
looks-
is that he very obviously brought his own lectern and put it on an old school desk. It is
Okay, but if the mayor didn't
deeply
invite him,
unclear,
did
'cause
he
it
just
really looks like
decide?
they're,
Like, did he
in a
just like,
garage.
we're gonna go there?
It looks like a community hall,
Yeah.
like the basement of a Legion or something like that.
It looks like an old church basement.
Yeah, totally, with a drop ceiling.
Like
and stuff
yellow
like that.
acoustic tiles
Okay.
on the roof.
Yeah.
It's just
Okay.
like,
Wow, what's going on what's
Bizarre.
going on with him? Why is he
Nice.
seemingly gone goofy? I
Nice.
don't understand.
so it's not new. So before the convoy
Unlike
was the
chemtrails.
convoy, they were the yellow vests. Do you remember that stuff?
Yes.
So
yeah.
he spoke at a yellow vest rally at the legislature. Like he's been embracing this
Mhm,
stuff
yeah.
forever. And during COVID, after the initial sort of baseline responsibility, he washed his hands of it completely and immediately started catering to the like. We were the first ones to lift every restriction. He was super proud of it. Like he's all about
Right.
catering to a very specific subset of the electorate. And that's all he cares about. Like this in the aftermath of the gun thing, like this government is just chaos, man. Like they're bonkers. Like our government are no like, but
I
it's
love
veering
Saskatchewan.
further away from
I
like
do.
silly to like, dear God, these people run our economy.
Okay, but if he's
Oh,
so
yeah.
he's been on
Oh, yeah.
that side. for quite
Oh,
some time.
heavens to
So
Betsy,
Is
yes.
he a liar? I
What
I know
else
the
you
answer.
got?
No,
Keep
no, sorry.
coming.
I said, let me finish my statement. No, I mean, I know
Sorry,
he's
it just burst
I-
out of me.
I know he's a liar, but like you're
It was like a
lying to
sneeze.
You feel better? You okay? Towel off a little bit.
Oh, there's no way.
But he would have heard about
Dude, you have
chemtrails,
the
right? Like,
internet.
I
You know
mean,
about
they've been talking about
chemtrails.
chemtrails forever.
Yes.
So is he lying
have
to this little
uncles.
group of cousin sisters?
You
Yeah.
live in Shellbrook.
Right?
Somebody's told you about chemtrails.
You're
Guaranteed.
in a mid-sized town in
Now, we don't
Saskatchewan.
expect him
Like,
to just shoot this person down, right? We don't expect him to be like,
Yes, we
"Listen,
do.
I don't want to talk."
We
Well,
absolutely do.
But he's listened. He brought his lectern. He can only run so fast into that community, out of that mid-sized town.
But like, what is
He's a
wrong with
politician.
expecting a leader to stand there and say, "I'm sorry, man, that ain't it." Like,
Yeah, I think there's diplomatic ways you can answer that question by saying, "I believe that's been studied many times. I don't think there's anything to worry about."
the example that pops into my head is, do you remember when that one lady called Barack Obama?
Did he-
I think
Yes.
she called him a Muslim or something like that, and John McCain immediately corrected her.
yes.
And like,
Yeah.
She was being quite derogatory.
Yeah, yeah.
referring to him as a Muslim.
yeah,
and
she
stuff.
was using it as
yeah.
an insult.
Yes,
And
yeah.
he immediately corrected her. He's
Yes,
like, that's just
yeah.
not true. Like,
Yeah.
and like, I see that and I go, like, that wasn't mean. That was just somebody saying, no, sorry, you're wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's factual.
Mm.
That's a correcting. Yeah, well, that's a conservative politician.
Oh, he'd have handlers.
Was he there by himself? Like, did he not have like anybody?
So he'd
that
have a
could been,
security
like-
detail, but they would just watch the disaster.
Okay.
And he'd have handlers. But you got to remember, like, Moe has basically removed everyone who disagrees with him at this point. He's so completely just ensconced with yes men. He just doesn't even like have. I think his connection to reality is getting looser and looser. And there's a
I'm
lot of
really
evidence that
uncomfortable.
supports it.
I'm really
Oh, that
uncomfortable,
sounds-
mostly uncomfortable, the most uncomfortable with the fact that this picture of him
You're
in this
uncomfortable.
lectern talking in the mirror, I imagine it's the mayor sitting in the background there, is that he looks like he's cosplaying me, which is distressing.
I just like the idea that he's got some bedraggled staffer
That's
who's
not
got to
good.
get his lectern out of the trunk. like somebody's the lectern guy.
That's
I mean,
Got a
I guess
scale on
the-
the
Crank it
front
up.
of it. Like, come on, man.
I don't get it. I just don't understand because there must be other people in Saskatchewan,
Right.
like other parties and politicians that people are like, okay, at least you're not a complete moron. I'm going to vote for you instead.
So it's the NDP, and it's hard to explain how deep seated the distrust of the NDP is in rural Saskatchewan.
Right.
Like they've been very thoroughly turned against the NDP for a bunch of reasons, some valid, some less so, but all of
Okay.
it's 20 years ago.
Right.
Like
right.
nobody who's in the NDP now has anything to do with that. But if there's one thing Saskatchewan does, it's grudges. Looking at you, Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
is there work being done? Because like
define work.
there's not a lot of time left, right, before the election. No, like on the part of the other parties
they
to try
are,
and
but
maybe
they're-
rebrand or
Mhm.
because like he can't win again. Like we
They're
can't have
doing this
another.
thing where they're trying to
FOMO
basically position
of-
themselves
of
where the
him,
Sask
right?
Party were 15 years ago. They're trying to position themselves as sort of a moderate, pro oil and gas, pro industry, pro everything, right? And like,
Right.
you know how it is. And so they haven't put out
help everybody.
a lot that's concrete enough.
Yeah.
Like the big policy push that they're pushing on is a gas tax break for the summer. And it's like,
Okay.
that's okay, sure, but that's the best you got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's not that it's necessarily they're bad, it's that they're not really offering a lot that's grabbing people right now. Well, and you got to remember, like, it's rural Saskatchewan is in
Inventive,
rough
yeah.
shape, man. Like there's been a lot of farm consolidation and huge corporate farms. A lot of these small towns are dying. And so they're just looking for anybody who gives them answers. And if the answer is blame the NDP, they did this 20 years ago, that's the answer they got.
That's a good enough answer.
Boo boo.
Well,
why did we end with that? Why couldn't we have
I don't know.
No, we're not ending with that. We end with a song.
Oh, right. Okay.
Oh, that's right.
right.
We leave with a song in our hearts, friends.
That's what I love how this.
And I have a metronome too.
Metronome back. That's fantastic.
Oh, and an instrument too. Don't worry.
Oh, good.
Double
good.
fisting
Excellent. Well, yeah, that was great. It was a good, solid 3 topics. We wish Ottawa well with their nightmare, and we'll see if Poilievre gets his clearance and reads the report.
We hope your nightmare
I
is
hope
a
he doesn't.
dream. Ottawa.
Yes.
I know. Exactly. And Saskatchewan.
Yep.
Look, man, anybody but Moe, please. I'm
right?
begging you.
No Moe.
Yeah. I don't want to have to
move. It
move.
just doesn't make any sense to me. It just seems goofy.
You know how much moving
surely you must have those, like, being that position, like his position, and politicians of his ilk who are doing similar types of goofy things, entertaining this nonsense. Surely they must be dying a little inside, right? You must be going to this thing going, yeah, we got a lot of emails. I'm going to look into that, because he's thinking, oh God, I'm the premier of a bunch of goons.
But they're goons that will vote for him.
Is,
that's the problem.
Yeah.
The worst part is, it some days feels more and more like he's genuinely believes some of that stuff.
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
Right. And that's the scariest part, is like, is he genuinely just trying to curry favor with folks, or is he actually down these rabbit holes? I don't know. But the fact that that's a genuine question that you have to ask, like, Poilievre doesn't believe anything he's saying. We all know that.
Yeah, but he'll puff it up if someone else brings it up. That's what I'm wondering. Is the same thing happening?
Again, I don't think I'm going to tuck my shirt.
Yeah, I looked at the picture. No more plaid.
Yeah.
No, I know. I want to take this shirt off I'm wearing right now.
Time to send a fond farewell.
You got to get the bow tie if you take the shirt off.
So.
I mean, it's you could bring your own nightmare energy. It's just like a podcast after dark.
Well, I'm gonna look for the purple glasses and see if I can find those. That'll be good. Thanks so much for watching and or listening to Podcast is Broken. Remember, you can subscribe and all that kind of stuff at podcastisbroken.ca. But we're gonna leave you with a
song in your heart,
much beloved, a song in your hearts, a ray of sunshine into your skull.
That's aggressive.
Right in.
We're gonna get it in your skull. I'm sorry.
Right into your skull. And we're going to leave you with our improvised theme song. What instruments are you guys playing this week?
Steve-O?
I have brought a...
Zamfir!
Oh my God, Zamfir.
I've brought a pan flute from a gift shop in Mexico. It was $7.
Can you play it? We'll find out. Don't tell us. Just show us.
Your guess is as good as mine, my friend.
Well, we're going to find out.
So inadequate.
What are you
so a friend
playing?
of mine bought me these mints, but they're called Empower Mints. I just love that.
Aw, an instrument with a message.
Do we have a BPM we're looking for here?
Brittleman is the one that has to decide that.
Yes, good Brittleman.
I think we should go. Let's go up tempo. Let's do like 165.
Done. All right, hang on here. Let's locate it here.
I think a up tempo Zamfir tune is perfect.
Are you hearing that?
He's gonna pass out if he has to play the pan flute at that speed.
3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Podcast is broken. Podcast is broken. Podcast is broken. Na. Podcast is broken. Podcast is broken. Podcast is broken. Na. Podcast is broken. That's pretty good.
Oh, well, I had to hyperventilate a little bit.
Stop that metronome.
That was good.
There we go.
Yeah, it's too much.
That was a lot.
I'm not going to lie, though. The metronome really is helping bring this.
I like that.
Really
I know when I'm off beat now.
It was the foundation and the confidence you needed, both of you, to do harmonies. So that's nice.
Because we just don't care anymore. This is who we are.
Exactly.
It'll just live there now.
Thanks so much again for watching and or listening. Podcastisbroken.ca. You get an email notification, and we're thinking we're going to make some of you pay if you want to pay soon, because their comments are okay. They're doing all right so far, but we're thinking maybe opening this show up so you guys can watch us tape it live, which would be fun. Plus, a little money in our
Get
pockets.
behind the scenes.
Little scratch, little something
Little
for.
We
scratch.
needed to buy instruments.
for
Like,
Stevie.
come on.
We need to exactly. Plus,
Yeah,
that
these
one's not
pan
free.
flutes don't buy themselves,
Exactly.
man.
Oh my goodness.
No, exactly. If we get one subscriber, that's one pan flute. One subscription equals one pan flute.
That's the selling pitch right there.
And they're like everyone's like, oh,
The
I'm getting
bar
wallet
is
out
low.
right away.
The bar is low.
Thanks so much, everyone. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Take care of
everybody.
yourselves, folks.